everybody, Kerry from Essential Nails. I'm going to just show you our brushes that we have now, and they're actually live on the website. You can buy them now. They're very reasonably priced. They're made of very, very good quality sable. Now, there isn't a substitute for natural hair. You can use synthetic brushes if you are worried about the whole vegetarian, vegan thing, if you don't want to use natural hair brushes. But they clog up, they don't clean as easily, and they just aren't as good. It's just a fact of the business, unfortunately. If you don't take care of your brush, it won't last very long. You need to make sure that you break your brush in properly and that you store it correctly. So you can see here I'm playing with this one already. When your brush is made, they put it in a mould to make sure that all the bristles are shaped beautifully so that when wet, it makes a nice fine point. To store these bristles and to train them into shape for packaging and shipping and until the day that you come to use it, they coat all of the bristles in a resin as well. So before you use your brush, you need to break off this resin. So when it arrives, it's stiff and pointy. So this resin, just with your nail, you're just going to work the bristles really gently. And you might be able to see some of the dust coming out. Can you see under the light? Ooh. You can see this as I'm working the bristles of the brush, that this white powdery resin is like a glue. So you can see there in the light that as you just brush your fingernail and flick the bristles, this is all the resin working its way out of the brush here. So you need to keep doing this until the majority of it stops coming out of the bristles. You need to clean it out really, really, really well. This could take you quite some time. You obviously don't want to damage the bristles in the process. So just, there we go, we've lost a bristle. You will lose one or two, it's natural shed. But you can see now the brush is all fluffy. This will go back to its original pointy shape once you drop it in monomer. We have a range of sizes. I've just been cleaning out the resin out of these. This is one that I am already using. So I've cleaned this one already and I've washed it through with clean monomer. And you can see the nice point at the end. So what I don't do is I don't put my fingers on or touch it because you don't want the oils on your finger getting on the bristles. You also don't want monomer on your hand. And when you store it, you want to keep the lid on and store it in a pot that way up. You'll sometimes find when you've left your brush sitting for a long time that you will take it out to use it, you'll take the lid off. And you'll find that you've got, when you wipe on paper towel, a green residue that comes off onto the paper towel. Well, the green is just discoloration and it's contaminated monomer effectively that's been left in the bristles that hasn't quite been clean. You get it on the metal, it sits there and it just goes a bit of a gunky colour. Your brush isn't completely lost. You can still wash your brush out and wipe it off if it's just on the outside. If you do leave your brush the wrong way up, the monomer is going to work its way down the shaft of the brush, in through the ferrule, and sit in here where the long layers of bristles are, and then when you use it, it will keep bleeding out that green tinge, that colour, because it's got contaminated monomer stuck inside it. So once you've washed out, put the lid on, store it bristles down. Once you've decided that you've worked out as much of the resin out of the brush as you can, you then want to clean it in monomer. So you want to just soak it in a bit of clean monomer. Let the monomer work its way into the bristles. Clean it out on a paper towel. This is quite a thick, chunky brush, this one. I think it's more like a 12. But you can see now that the bristles are worked back into the monomer, that the bristles retain their shape. They come back to a nice point. Okay. So here you can see the variation in the size of our brushes. Let's pull this monomer over here. You can see when you're using them, you can dry them to a point on the paper towel, or you can dry them to a paddle when you're wanting to use them to press into shape. Look, nice thin flat paddle. So you can cut in around the cuticle with the fine end and use the paddle for pressing out product. So when you finish using your brush, you must make sure that you get a very thorough clean. If you leave any product in the brush at all, you will end up with thick, caked in pieces of dusty acrylic that will set and they will ruin the shape of your brush. Your bristles will never, ever, ever go back the same if you get big lumps of acrylic set inside the bristles. So always get into the habit of making sure it's really clean. If you do end up with a lump of acrylic in your brush, you must soak it in monomer for as long as you can. Acetone will ruin your brush. It will dry out the bristles, make them brittle, and they will eventually snap off. It won't feel as smooth when you're using the acrylic afterwards as well. You can get brush cleaners, they do the same thing. They dry your bristles out. You must always be very careful to make sure that you consistently clean your brush out very thoroughly. If the worst should happen and you end up with a big lump of acrylic in your brush, soak it in monomer for as long as you can, and you'll have to gently tease out the little bits of acrylic. You have to be so careful, you will damage the bristles of your brush. So keep soaking until it loosens the acrylic and you should get the bristles clear. But prevention is better than cure, so the best thing you can do is always make sure that you clean it out really well in clean monomer. No point in letting the monomer in your dish get all cloudy and gunked up. Always need to keep your brush clean.